Hi, welcome to the Motion Picture Notion. I'm your host, Gabriel Burton. So, a few nights ago, I watched Bill and Ted Face the Music. Honestly, it's probably the movie that I have been most anticipating for 2020, and especially given how really kind of crappy most 2020 films have been, and just like a lot of the really good stuff that we've been waiting for has been pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. It was nice to know that this like one thing was coming out. So I had actually already done a review for this, like fresh off of having watched it. I came up here and I did my video, filmed, edited it, sent it out there. Woke up the next morning and realized that I had had a few too many, and I was sort of like, ooh. I felt that this film deserved a better thought out review than that. And plus, it was just a little bit embarrassing. I was pretty hammered at the time. So one of my biggest concerns going into this movie, and I kept on thinking, I'm like, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, I feel like they have a respect for this, obviously. I mean, like, they made this movie. I mean, I don't think it was really on that huge of a budget. It was kind of hush-hush for quite some time. They were kind of doing this while nobody was really paying attention. Then they're sort of like, hey, guess what? There's a new Bill and Ted movie. So then, the trailer drops, and I'm watching it, and I'm sort of like, oh, Bill and Ted have daughters, which is cool. And I'm like, the trailer does look good. But I really don't trust movies these days, really because of the woke factor. Like, I was really concerned because, again, we live in an era where it's like, you got your female Ghostbusters, and you got your female Ocean's 8, and you got your female this, and your female that, and everything that men have possibly paved the way for, they find a way to pass it on to a female character. And it's just sort of like, it's not that I mind a female lead, but it's just sort of like, come on guys, get your own material. Because I know that Bill and Ted are really looked at as like these unifying like kind of people. Their purity, even though they're not that smart, and the whole concept is that these two knuckleheads, write this song or produce this music that really just brings the universe into harmony. So I figured that, they might have Hollywooded it out a little bit. Like, I was kind of worried that it was going to be like, oh, well, it was Preston and Logan, but not Bill and Ted. And it's sort of like, dude, really? Like, you're going to defile the first two movies? Now, don't get me wrong. Bill and Ted's daughters do play a role in this movie, a very pivotal role, and they are a big part of what happens. This is going to be a spoiler-free review. I'm not going to, divulge anything, but there was nothing about it that was sickening. It respected the first two movies, and it had a delightful lack of cynicism. Like, something that I've not seen in a movie for a really, really, really long time. Like, the stuff that, like, old feel-good movies are made of. And I feel that this was the medicine that we needed for 2020. This is the vaccine for 2020. Bill and Ted Face the Music is an absolutely delightful film. And I don't think I'm being bold when I say that I think I liked it about on par with Excellent Adventure, honestly. And that's saying a lot, because I love Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Bogus Journey is okay. Honestly, if death hadn't been a part in that movie, I probably wouldn't really have much interest in it. I just didn't think, I thought it was an inferior film. But, death is obviously not a spoiler because you see it in the trailer, but death is in this movie. William Sadler, it's like he never left. It's great. There's some really great scenes with him. This movie just pulls you right in from the opening because it's funny. It's just hysterical. My wife and I, right from the get-go, were laughing hysterically. There's like this sense of foreboding in the plot, really, but that's as far as it goes. It doesn't really get dark, and it's like, even when it comes to Bill and Ted encountering different versions of themselves from various parts of the future, and as they go forward, like, they get more and more douchey. Keanu and Alex Winter, I get the impression that they had an absolute blast doing this, and it really shows. There's some really funny dialogue between both sets of Bill and Ted in each reality. And it's also kind of cool because their daughters do play a pivotal role. They have their own journey going through time, kind of like Bill and Ted did in Excellent Adventure, trying to gather historical figures because time is running out. And they're like, we need to help our dads. They love their dads. They idolize their dads. And it's just like so sweet. And they're just, the way they portray the characters, it's just so, like, they are their father's daughters, you know what I'm saying? And they are just as endearing and just as, maybe a little bit smarter but they're still kind of dopey, you know what I mean? But they go through time the way, you know, Bill and Ted did in the first movie, and there's kind of these like two stories running side by side, and then, you know, stuff unfolds as it will unfold. But I did really appreciate the ending. I don't think that they ruined anything at all. I was really just praying that this movie was going to be decent, you know, at this point, and I didn't really have high hopes. But again, it's just like the original, you know. It's really just this warm, non-cynical, fun movie that just makes you feel good. If you like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and you feel that that description fits that movie, you really should watch Bill and Ted Face the Music. And not for nothing, but I kind of feel like coronavirus has like really kind of put a kink in the money that they could really make from this movie. So all the more, like, go out and buy it on most platforms. Like, I know on Google Play, and I believe Amazon too. There's a couple platforms out there where they're like, hey, look, you can rent the movie for $20, you know, as a home premiere, or you can just freaking buy the thing for $25. I mean, for me, that's no contest. If you're gonna rent it for $20, you might as well just buy the freaking thing. Seriously, as a fan of the Bill and Ted movies, and just as a fan of movies in general, like, this is something I've not seen for a very long time, and I really couldn't recommend it enough. It's a really fun movie, and I'd highly recommend everybody check it out, especially if you've been kind of bogged down of late just with everything, just with 2020. This will put a smile on your face, and I think it'll be really worth it. But anyways, guys, that's all she wrote.